Welcome everyone to Secrets Behind the Stars, the place where we peel back the velvet curtain of Turkish showbiz and bring you the drama, the nuance, and the heart that other outlets miss. Before we step into tonight's unraveling of a moment that stunned a set famous for its discipline, take a second to subscribe to Secrets Behind the Stars, hit that join button to support our growing community, and drop a like and a comment so we can keep delivering the kind of stories that stay with you long after the credits roll. Buckle in. What happened behind the scenes last night felt like a collision between rumor and a truth that refused to stay quiet. It began inside a production space that usually thrums with the same familiar music, camera rehearsals, shouted time cues, the quick shuffle of sneakers along gaffer tape, the soft hum of lights warming up. That rhythm stopped all at once. A single statement landed like a flare in the dark. And it didn't come from an actor. It wasn't a director clearing the air, or a producer steering the ship. It was the official spokesperson of Navruz, stepping out from the shadow of the monitors and into the glow of microphones to send a message that rewrote the mood in the room, and beyond. In an instant, every murmur about Alina became background noise. For days, whispers had made a quiet home inside studios, newsrooms, and timelines, orbiting Alina with shadows and questions. Everyone had heard something, no one could prove anything. Yet the accumulation of half-truths, sources, and speculative posts had formed a fog that followed her from trailer to set. That fog evaporated when Alp's representative faced the press and delivered a crisp, unblinking line that hit like a gavel. The claims being circulated about Alina were not true and had no basis in fact. It was a clean sentence, spare and surgical, and it thundered through an industry that had been holding its breath. Make sure you're subscribed to Secrets Behind the Stars and tap join if you're feeling generous. We bring you into rooms where the real conversations happen. What shook insiders wasn't only the denial, but the origin of it. Usually, the person under fire, or their own publicist, steps forward first. Not this time. The shield came from her co-star's side. In a business where allegiances can shift with a ratings report, the move felt almost radical. As if Alp had stepped out and said without theatrics, "If you come for her, you come through me." Those who watched the industry closely called it rare. Some, frankly, couldn't recall the last time they'd seen anything like it. What were the rumors? Why did the response arrive this way, this fast? People in the know offered conflicting versions. One angle suggested disputes about professional conduct, another insisted the noise was aimed at Alina's private life. Depending on who you asked, it was either a coordinated attempt to undermine her or a game of telephone born from harmless moments misread and blown up like a headline balloon. No matter the theories, Alp's spokesperson ended the tangle with a single, powerful verdict, without foundation. That one word became the punctuation mark on a sentence that had dragged on too long. The effect was immediate inside the production bubble. Crew who had been moving like they were carrying extra weight suddenly looked lighter. Camera operators shared glances that said, "Finally." The makeup team, who hear more confessions than most people's best friends, let out breaths they didn't realize they'd been holding. The lighting crew cracked jokes again. For days the mood had been brittle, every hallway conversation clipped at the edges. It wasn't just reputations at risk anymore. Once gossip worms its way into a set's bloodstream, it can compromise scenes, partnerships, even global distribution deals living just beyond the edit. Executives had started to worry that the noise would leave bruises on paperwork yet to be signed. So while Alp's gesture appeared personal, it also became a protective net for everyone whose livelihood depended on the work staying steady. Just as notable as what was said was what wasn't. There were no point-by-point rebuttals, no tit-for-tat recital of specifics. No salacious bullet was repeated even to dismiss it. This wasn't accidental. It was precise. A decision to smother the embers without throwing oxygen on the flames. Media strategists have a term for this: controlled silence. It refuses to play by a rumor's rules, declining to amplify the very thing it is trying to defeat. It works best when paired with unmistakable conviction, and last night that conviction belonged to Alp's camp. Friends close to Alina say the statement hit her like a life raft. She'd been moving through days where every move drew speculation, where her phone vibrated with the relentless score of opinions from accounts she didn't know, and where the sense that an unseen hand might be choreographing a takedown made sleep elusive. The intervention, they say, brought her a moment of quiet she hadn't felt in a while. Not because the noise vanished all at once, but because someone with his own image, his own career, and his own risks had chosen to meet the storm at the door before it reached her dressing room. That isn't just a public nod, it's an anchor. Then the tide turned in the press rooms. Outlets that had chased the shiniest angle began to slow down. A few quietly edited earlier posts. One well-known talk show shelved a ready-to-air segment with the kind of discretion that only happens when they sense the cost of pushing forward surpasses the reward. None of these pivots occurred in a vacuum. The message from Alp's side hadn't been a hand-wringing plea, it read to the media like a line drawn in bold ink. As one commentator put it in a late-night thread, this was more than a denial. It was a boundary. Here's where it becomes bigger than a single hour on a single set. That statement built an invisible perimeter around both actors, something reporters recognized immediately. It signaled that the project was not two names working in parallel, but a unit protecting its integrity from the same side of the glass. Anyone hoping to stir a more dramatic soup realized the burner had just been switched off. And yet, the most interesting shift happened not in headlines but inside Alina herself. Free of the exhausting posture of having to stand alone, she found a quieter, stronger center. Imagine days of being dissected by people who don't know the truth of your mornings, your work ethic, your intent. Then imagine someone you work with stepping forward and saying, "I'm here, this ends now." That changes the air you breathe. Tell us what you think down in the comments. Should more stars stand up for each other like this when the rumor machine starts grinding? And don't forget to subscribe to Secrets Behind the Stars for the kind of layered storytelling that respects your curiosity and your time. In the hours after the spokesperson's words, a different kind of message took root, the kind that doesn't shout, but also doesn't budge. The victory, if we can call it that, didn't belong to the rumor mill. It belonged to how swiftly and decisively it was answered. We're living through an era where stray whispers can harden into false narratives in a single afternoon, where perception can outrun truth by miles. Against that backdrop, the move from Alp's camp felt like a rare correction delivered in real time. It defended a colleague, yes. But it also shielded a production that many hands had worked to build, and it offered the industry a reminder: unity still moves the needle. Watching from the outside, you could almost see the gears change. By night's end, the story wasn't whatever someone had hoped to pin on Alina, it was the way a single authoritative sentence rewired the conversation. And when the dust began to settle, one clear idea stayed standing: the chatter about Alina Boz lacked any legitimate grounding. It wasn't a flourish. It wasn't PR poetry. It was a straightforward stand taken at the exact moment it mattered most, and it worked. There's a reason gestures like this linger. They reveal the character of a partnership. Fans have long speculated about the chemistry between Alina and Alp, about the way they navigate interviews with an easy grace, the way they hand the mic to each other at just the right time. But actions like last night's do something different: they put skin in the game. They show that on a set where pressure is a given and image is everything, choosing loyalty is still a choice, and a costly one. It means accepting that your name will be attached to someone else's storm, and doing it anyway. Insiders tell us that after the statement, the set recalibrated. A complicated scene shot later that night, one that had dragged through several takes earlier in the week, finally found its rhythm. The director's notes grew lighter. The laughter that makes a long day survivable returned to the green room couch. No one needed to say out loud what everyone knew: the energy had shifted back toward the work. International partners, who had been quietly pinging for reassurances, received them without a single memo, because the real reassurance wasn't paperwork, it was poise. If you strip away the noise, a core truth remains. The public doesn't need the details of accusations that were never true to begin with. Naming them gives them power they didn't earn. The choice not to repeat them wasn't an omission, it was strategy. It was respect. For the audience, for the craft, for the fact that some fires go out fastest when you refuse to fan them. That's what controlled silence looks like when it's done with spine. And for Alina, last night becomes part of the story of who she is, not because it damaged her but because it didn't. She didn't have to carry the weight by herself. The person beside her, equal in stature and risk, put his reputation on the line and said the quiet part out loud. The claims were empty. They did not stand up to daylight. They would not be allowed to stain the work or the people making it. If this moment surprised you even half as much as it surprised the insiders on that set, say so in the comments, and let us know whether you think we'll see more of this kind of public solidarity going forward. Remember to subscribe to Secrets Behind the Stars and join our community if you want deeper dives into the stories you can't stop talking about. When we look back on this episode, it won't be the invented drama that defines it. It will be the clarity and speed of the response, the sturdiness of a professional bond that chose steadiness over spectacle. At a time when rumor can feel like currency, the refusal to trade in it is its own headline. Alp didn't just back a colleague. He stabilized a project, upheld a standard, and reminded everyone watching that storms can be turned by a single, unwavering voice. The industry took notice. Fans took heart. And the final word, the one that matters, was simple: the stories about Alina Boz weren't real. They lacked substance. They collapsed when touched. That wasn't just positioning. It was a shield, a stance, a marker laid down for the next time a whisper tries to masquerade as truth. Sometimes unity is the most disarming tool you have. Sometimes it's the only one that works. Thank you for watching Secrets Behind the Stars. If this layered breakdown gave you a new angle on the night everyone's quietly discussing, hit subscribe, tap that join button if you want to support the channel, and tell us which celebrity story you want us to unpack next. Until then, stay curious, stay engaged, and stay with us for everything you need, right here at Secrets Behind the Stars.